what's happening, Blades. So it's been a while since I've had a video out. Thank you for coming back, for those of you that have. I think I'm up to 33 subscribers now, which I'm very proud of. I know it's very modest numbers, but thank you for those that are supporting me. It's been a while since I've uploaded. It's been a couple of games since I've had a video out, and in that time I've learned to edit. So if very modestly, by the way, so I think if I put my Twitter handle on here, then that's me showing off a little bit, but still very much a layman when it comes to these things. It takes ages for me to upload videos, so if anybody's got any tips on how to speed things up, I'll take them all day long. But 2 games since I last put a video out. Firstly, just want to briefly touch on West Brom. Completely negated that new manager bounce that we were quite fearful of, or I certainly was. I think Corberan's a good coach. They've got some great players. Personally, I think they were very, very poor on the night, but I think he'll get it right there. Maybe how tight the league is, it's still not too late for him to mount a charge, and I can still see him finishing in playoffs with quality they've got there. He clearly didn't know his best 11 because the subs he made him a better team. Swift on bench, I don't understand, but reading some of their fans' opinions, they didn't have him in their lineups as well. So whether he's gone off the boil for them, I'm not sure. He's a player we've obviously long admired. I think our 2 early goals completely killed him off. Never really felt threatened, if I'm honest. And I tend to be a glass half empty when I'm watching Blades. I wish I were more positive, but I'm more fearful than I am enjoying being in front in terms of, well, if they get one back, it's 2-0's worst possible scoreline for me, because momentum completely swings if they pull one back and then it's backstop wall, isn't it? But that's just how my crazy brain works sometimes. So only thing I'd say from West Brom game, and this is constructive criticism, because I know you know I like to have a little nibble at Eki every now and again. I didn't understand why he took Fleck. I get the need to bring Fleck off because he's obviously still coming back to fitness, and he's mentioned that a little bit since. But to bring Brewster on and completely change our shape when we were defending a 2-0 lead, and we went to a more attacking formation. We certainly weren't going for a third, or it didn't appear to be. Brewster coming on, obviously he got the injury, which was unfortunate, and Dyer then dropped into the 10, which I've been an advocate of in previous videos. I think he can do a job in the hole because he's so good, but that was proven that it weren't his most effective position. So I'm happy to say I were wrong on that. And when, like quite rightly has been said since, when he's only got one man to beat and he's through on goal, that's probably the best place for him, isn't it, really? And that were proven obviously again on Tuesday at Bristol, where awful performance, really dire. Certainly first half were probably the worst 45 I've seen all season, and that's taking Stoke into consideration. So yeah, awful from us, but when you've got a difference maker like Illiman and Dye, he is the difference, to be fair, isn't he? Let's be right. If he hadn't been on the pitch, that finishes 0-0. They might even squeak it, even though they weren't very good either. They were certainly better than us on the night and deserved something from the game. Daylight robbery, but we've been on the end of that more often than not. It's nice to get one of them going our favour for a change. I watched Burnley last night as of recording. This will come out on Friday, where I'm recording it Thursday night. I watched them all the way to 90th minute when they got back in, when they equalised, and you just knew where it were going. 10 minutes added time. Rotherham had been hanging on anyway, down to 10 men. One thing I'd say is, I know Rotherham scored, they caught them on break a couple of times, but Burnley are a good side, and that's no news to anybody really, but he's pieced together a completely new team, and the value for where they are. They're going to be a real tough test for us on Saturday, but I'm looking forward to it. We're getting players back. Obviously Brewster went down, which ain't great, and we look like we're having a bit of a striker crisis now. In and among, we've had that left-hand side decimated, and now just as we're getting players back on left, strikers start to go down. We're down to Ollie Mack, who's got a hernia, obviously, and Dye, the star boy at the minute. And Billy, who still ain't firing on all cylinders, although he was obviously involved in build-up for a goal. Tough game, but I'm really looking forward to it. In terms of team, obviously Wes stays in goal for me. And then back five, it depends which way Eki wants to go, because Bash went down, I think, did they call it a hip flexor or something like that, that he's been playing through since West Brom, so could play if they wanted him to. Robinson played full 90, which they didn't necessarily want him to do. Clark obviously came back on. I think our strongest five, taking Bogle out of the equation because he's not involved, and Reese. But I would go Baldock, right wing back. I'd go Anel, right centre half. Egan, I think our strongest left centre half, again Reese is out of the equation, but would be Kieran Clark. But I think he'll probably pip for Bash. But if Bash ain't 100% fit, he'll go for Robinson because he's had more time on the grass, if you like, and his legs have been loosened by a full 90. Again, you never know what Eki's thinking though, because full 90 is a lot to get in the tank out of a player who's not played much football at all. So it could be any of Bash, Clark or Robinson, but I think he'll probably pip for Bash or Robinson, depending on which way it wind's blowing that day. And I'll go for Ender at left wing back. I think Ozzy's been hot and cold. There's been times where he's been very good, and there's been times where he's been very, very bad. But he's a lung buster, is Ozzy. He obviously played the full 90 again, swapping with Fleck when Ender came on. And I think I will give him a little bit of a break, because it's hard yards that he's been putting in. Whether he's played well or poorly, he certainly puts the yards in. Tommy Doyle looks like he'll be fit again, which is great. I think he'll go for that balance in midfield, so he'll go for Tommy Doyle just in front of Norwood and Fleck, the little triangle that he's starting to encourage. Tommy Doyle in that slightly advanced Sander role, which he looked very good at in West Brom game. And he'll go and die him at Burnley up front, I've no doubt, because that's his best front two. I'm saying we're going to win 2-0, because I think it'll be a tight game, but it'll be end to end. I think we'll get in front, and then when the game's stretched, we'll catch him again. So I'm confident. I'm looking forward to it. The other thing I wanted to touch on was, and how can we not, the Reader Khadra Conundrum. So the cards on the table. I have not been a fan of Khadra since he's joined us. I was a huge proponent of us signing him, but it's not worked for him. He's, for whatever reason, and it's not an obvious reason because the ingredients were there. We've seen him for Blackburn, and obviously we've all seen highlight clips before he signed. He should be a player for us, and I think he's looked fleetingly, the odd occasion as an impact sub, like he could do something. But I count, obviously he got hooked on the half hour by Eki against Bristol. And I saw a lot of people thinking it's harsh and other people thinking it's personal and all this sort of thing. It was tactical, and I completely take that and another constructive criticism, but Eki held his hands up to it. He got it wrong, he got the setup wrong, but he corrected it, and fair play to him for correcting it. It wasn't the right team to go with. Khadra coming off the bench rather than starting from the get-go was the right decision, and we got that one wrong. So Khadra came off. I'd counted in the half an hour that he played, he'd lost possession 5 times. I think he touched it less than 10, and he'd lost possession 5 times. So really poor from Reader. It is bit parts he's been getting from time to time and starting it wrong position, playing at wing back and things like that, but he's not done himself any favours in time he's on pitch. And I think we should sign him. Which sounds mental, and I don't know whether I'm just a little bit delirious at the minute, but I think we should sign him. And there's a couple of reasons why. He's not done it so far. His value will be affected. I don't know if we've got a set in stone figure that we've got to pay Brighton. but his stock is low currently. We know there's a player in there. We've seen it at Blackburn last season when he ripped us to pieces. And the main driver behind me saying we should sign him is Sander Berge will likely leave in January. I'm confident that this is going to happen, and it's pessimistic, but I also think it's realistic. And I know we've got Reader on loan for the season. I don't know whether Brighton have a recall clause. To be fair, that's something I'd have to look at. But I think we'll need him more as the season progresses. I also think we've got a sort of a problem that we're all avoiding thinking about, which is Illy's contract situation. He's going to go to World Cup, and if he gets any minutes at World Cup and chance to start, he hasn't sort of had much time in Senegal 11, but if he has any time on that stage to shine, and he does, there are already teams looking at him. If he can show he can do it at the highest level, then why would he sign an extension with us? The only slight chance we've got of keeping him is if we go up, and then I think it's more a case of how long we can keep him for. He'll probably sign a contract with either a relegation release clause or a minimum fee release clause, and you can't hold players like that back. He's quickly outgrowing us, and we have to be realistic about that, which is great if we can get what he's worth, but we have to plan for life after him. And I don't like thinking about it because I'm trying to enjoy him while we've got him. But Khadra sort of fits that mould of a flair player with ability. He's certainly no Illiman. But Illiman were no Morgan Gibbs-White last year. And if you offered me either player now, you take Illiman and die over Morgan Gibbs-White every day of the week. That's my take on the Khadra Conundrum. I think longer term it'll prove to be a good signing for us if we choose to go down that route. I'm still not a huge fan, which makes it a ludicrous suggestion really in a lot of ways, but that's my thoughts, and I want to hear your thoughts on it as well, please. So a lot of you have been DMing me, which I appreciate, but if you had some comments to the video as well, just to give it some traction, and if you haven't subscribed, then please do. I'm going to try and make them a bit snappier, but one thing I'm going to do is have a regular time. So these are going to come out Friday at 5 every week. That's what I'm aiming for, and I'm not no promises, but I think a bit of consistency with videos coming out should help the channel grow a little bit. So I've been really enjoying them so far, and thank you again to everybody that supports. All the best for Saturday. Come on, I'll be there obviously, and up the Blades.